Hi friends, welcome to Yoga with Sarah, and I appreciate you joining me for this practice where we are including some essential yoga stretches today, some of the basic yoga postures integrated in a nice flowing way so you can stretch your whole body. See you in a second. Let's start today's practice in a comfortable cross-legged upright seat. And we want to sit up really tall, lifting your lower back all the way up in that area between the shoulder blades, right up through the crown of the head. Let your shoulder blades glide down the back. Try to relax your hips so that they don't feel too gripped. And then bring your hands to heart center, pressing the palms together so you feel slight activation in your upper arms. Nose is over navel. Start to connect to your breath and notice the natural flow of your breath as you arrive in this practice today. Arriving in your body, arriving in the present moment more fully. And dropping your chin toward the body, set your intention for practice. What do you want to cultivate in this time on your mat today? And may that intention help guide the energy and the effort that you put in. Please feel free to back off at any point in this practice if anything is getting too much for you. Let's start by sweeping the arms overhead, taking a big full inhale and reaching up. And then exhale, press the hands down through heart center. And let's squeeze the knees in. And we're bringing the feet on the floor, hip width distance apart. And let's start with bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana, soles of feet together, knees open. Wrap your hands in front of your ankles and sit up really tall for a moment, lifting up through the crown of the head. Lengthening up through your side waists. And we'll inhale, lift the chest up. And we'll exhale, move the chest forward. And your hands can either cup your toes or you inch your fingertips forward into a deeper forward fold. The inner thighs move forward and down. And you can be interested in looking at your feet. Your feet are coming together into prayer feet. So it's like prayer hands, only this time prayer feet. The toes, big toes, balls of your feet, center of the heels are all nice and aligned equally. And a couple breaths through the back ribs. Exhale, belly hugs in toward the spine. The outer knees fall open without force. And then slowly start to sit up. Let's bring the knees in and then extend your legs out straight. So we're going to come into Paschimottanasana. Toes are pointing straight up toward the ceiling. And then you start to shift to the left sitting bone and drag your right sitting bone back. Shift to the right, drag your left back, and find a place where you feel like both sitting bones are pressing into the ground lightly. Then sweep your arms up. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, reach for your toes. Reach for your toes. If the toes are unavailable, you can take your ankles, your shins, or even resting hands on the outside of the thighs. And we take this full back body stretch. Paschimottanasana, intense west stretch. There's this whole back body lengthening from the back of your heels all the way to the back of the head. And you breathe there. Breathing a couple of smooth inhales. With the exhale, you may be able to move into the pose a micro amount more without force. Then go ahead and drop the tail, bring your right heel in toward the sitting bone, open your right knee. So we make an L shape between the outside of your left foot and the outer right knee. Now, if you're feeling more open, you bring that heel really close up into your midline. If you're feeling a little more tight, that foot could be a little closer toward your knee joint. Now, on your inhale, reach your arms up. So you root through the sitting bones to lift up through your chest. And when you exhale, reach for that left foot. The inner thighs move forward and down. And that outer right knee falls open, whatever degree. And we'll fold there either with hands wrapping around that left foot, or hands could frame your left shin, anywhere that feels available. And as you fold, you can open your elbows, fan your elbows open, and move your chest toward that left foot. Now draw up your tailbone and start to sit up. Now step your right foot on the ground. Take your hands in front of your right shin. Sit up really tall. So again, if you're more open, if you feel like you want this to feel a little more intense, the right heel can be really close to the sitting bone. If you're feeling a little more tight, your right foot could be a little further away. And we're going to start to turn into this Marichasana. Drag your right sitting bone back. Wrap your left arm around. Take your right fingertips behind you and turn and look over the right shoulder. That left thigh bone drops down. Left toes are flexed. And then you lift up through your side waists and then touch that left first finger and thumb together for that Gyan Mudra, gesture of focus and center. And we'll inhale there. And we're going to exhale, unwind, and then start to slowly extend your right heel out. Now hug that left heel in, open the left knee. We're going to take that same Janu Sirsasana coming onto this side. So we sit up really tall, nice flexed right foot. That outer left thigh is falling toward the floor without force. And we're going to inhale, reach up, stretch up through the side waist and look up. And exhale, reach forward, 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 reaching to interlace the hands around that right foot, or just resting your hands to frame that right ankle if that's more available. So we're moving the back of the head forward toward your toes and breathing space into that left side waist, down into the left lower back. And inhale. And exhale, drop the tail, go ahead and sit up tall, then step your left foot on the ground, wrap your right arm around. So we're coming into the hug. Right first finger and thumb touch into Gyan Mudra. Drop your right thigh bone down, sit up tall, look over your left shoulder. Breathing on the inhale, fill the belly. Exhale, hug the belly in toward the spine. And finding that spinal twist. So good for the supportive, ongoing mobility of your spine as you age. And inhale and exhale. Let's unwind. Extend your left heel out. Now open your heels out into as much of a V as you feel you can. So we come into Upavista Konasana, the wide-legged forward fold. Now it might be enough for you to just stay and sit upright. That's totally fine. You don't have to overdo. If it's available, we start to lean forward a little bit and walk the fingertips forward. And then we'll take a couple breaths there. Maybe a little moving in and out, slight pulsation of the torso forward and back. Good. Smooth breathing. The breath is always available. And then when you move into it, you can pause, bringing your palms or your forearms down, possibly resting your forehead on the thumbs. Couple breaths. Finding that space of the inhale into any tension. And exhale, releasing wherever you feel really gripped. Keeping your jaw relaxed, start to slowly walk yourself back up onto your hands. And then take your hands under your knees for support. Lift up, cross either ankle on top. And let's roll over the knees, come into tabletop. And we're making our way into a downward facing dog. With your toes tucked, send your hips to the heels. Fan the fingers wide. Then lift up the knees and come on up into downward dog. Just stretching the sitting bones up. Lifting one heel at a time. Breathing. Pressing through the pads of the fingers. The inner arms, the inner biceps are wrapping toward the outer arms. And over time, you may drop your heels to get the stretch more in the backs of the legs. But if your back starts to round, better to keep your knees a little bent and find that length of the lumbar spine. And then go ahead and come forward into plank. Crown of head lengthening. And if you had to adjust your hands forward a little bit, keep your hands right where they are. And then come back to downward dog. And then lift your heels high, come all the way up onto tiptoes. You want to keep the sitting bones lifting as you tiptoe forward, all the way between the thumbs. Feet are about hip width distance. As we inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen through the crown. Then exhale, fold, let your head go. Uttanasana, folding into your standing forward fold. It's the same posture that we did earlier, Paschimottanasana, seated, except it's a different perspective with gravity helping to drape the torso over the thighs and the back of the head spilling right between the feet. And then start to gather the belly and slowly come on up. And we find our way up into Tadasana, mountain pose. Now find a drishti, a focal point where you can keep your gaze pretty fixed, either on the ground or a little higher up would be more challenging. Shift into your right foot. Start to peel your left heel toward your left sitting bone and reach your left hand down for the top of your left foot. And then with the left shoulder blade right on the back, right hand on the hip, take that kind of preparation for a dancer pose where we're stretching the quadriceps muscles in the front of the thigh. And then a little more balance would be to extend your right arm straight up, right first finger and thumb touch. Drawing your lower ribs in to stabilize your core. Good. And an inhale. When you exhale, you may be able to kick that foot into the hand into the foot, and start to lengthen forward a little more into dancer with that left knee staying in alignment with the hip. You don't have to overdo. Good. Inhale. Exhale slowly. Return your left knee down in alignment with the hip. Right hand comes onto your hip. Release your left foot and then lift your left knee. And take a big step back with your left foot coming into a lunge. Right knee is over the heel. And then from that lunge, we're going to drop the left knee all the way down. Take the top of your left foot flat. Inner thighs are going to scissor apart and we'll lift up the chest. You can keep your hands either on your hips, on your right thigh, or reach your arms up into crescent lunge, Anjaneyasana. And let's inhale. Exhale, release your hands to frame that front foot. Tuck your left toes, lift your left thigh. And we're going to step back to downward dog. Lift your heels, wave into plank. Bring your knees down, hug your elbows in, come all the way onto the belly. Take your feet flat. Zip your big toes to touch. Drag your palms toward your hips for a cobra pose on the inhale. And then exhale, lower your heart. Tuck your toes. Let's meet in downward dog. Now, from downward dog, lift your heels, come onto tiptoes. Tiptoe forward all the way between your thumbs. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, belly to thighs, fold. It's Uttanasana. Drop your tail, inhale, root through the feet to rise up through the upper body, sweeping the arms overhead. Exhale, bring the hands down through heart center. And let's do that sequence on the other side. So feet hip width, hands on hips. Find your drishti, your focal point. So you take your gaze somewhere either lower down on the floor or higher up is more challenging on your balance. Press through your left foot. Start to bring your right heel toward the sitting bone and reach your right hand down for the top of that right foot. And then resist the top of that right foot into your hand and let your right knee point straight down. Keep your ribs knitting in. Then float your left arm up alongside the ear. Left first finger and thumb can touch. And this is a fine place to stay, working with your balance, stretching the right quadriceps. If it's available, you can kick your foot into your hand into your foot. Start to lengthen your right knee straight back in alignment with the hip joint. Then lift your chest forward and up. Nose is neutral. Good. Inhale, wherever you're at. Exhale, release that right knee down through that same pathway and the left arm down with the left hand coming onto your hip. Then both hands on the hips. Lift your right knee, flex your foot. Then step your right foot back into a lunge. Take your left knee right over the heel. And then with control, drop your right knee down. Take the top of your right foot flat. Scissor the inner thighs apart. Knit your lower ribs in. And you could work with that, just hands on the left thigh. Or if you're feeling up for it, stretch the arms right overhead into that back bend. Crescent lunge, Anjaneyasana. Arm bones moving back behind your ears on the inhale, looking up. Exhale, release your hands to frame that front foot. Tuck your right toes, lift your right thigh, then take a big step back right into downward dog. Step your feet mat width distance apart. Toes are turned slightly in. Walk your hands in between your heels to come into a wide-legged prasarita, forward fold. So the toes again turned in, heels turned slightly out. Take your two peace fingers and hook them around your big toes. Then open your elbows away from each other and fold and let your head hang. Breathing there. Shoulder blades drawing right on the back. There's a nice broad upper back as the head hangs down. And then start to turn your toes out, heels in, drop down into your squat. Now, if squatting is too intense on your knees, please just join me in a cross-legged seat, or you could sit on a yoga block. So coming down into a squat, if you're able, elbows on the insides of your knees. Sit up really tall through the crown of the head in your malasana, yogic squat. So good for opening up your inner thigh groins, your lower back. And then take your right arm on the inside of the right knee. Open your left arm out to the left. Keep opening that left knee open so it doesn't collapse inward. And inhale, look at your left hand. Exhale, we're gonna round, chin toward chest. Left tented fingers inch away from those left toes. Use your left arm to open that left knee and reach your right fingertips over to the right. Looking at the right hand. Reaching your right hand away from your left hand on the inhale. Exhale, release. Then both tented fingers on the ground. Lift your chest, sit up. Then reach your arms forward, use your core, and sit down gently. Zip your feet together. Now, we're going to reach around and take the outside edges of the feet. This is a fine place to stay. If you can't get the feet, you can take your shins. If you're able, keep the outside edges of the feet and start to lift your feet up. They come up to balance in this Shavasana variation. Remember, it's fine to just keep your knees bent and wrap your hands in front of the shins if you need to. If you can, find this tall spine through the crown, broad chest. Good. One more inhale. Exhale, open the heels. Good. Find yourself in that wide open Upavista, wide-legged position, only if this feels good for your body. And then we're going to bring the soles of feet right together, let your knees splay open. Wrap your hands in front of your toes. Sit up tall for a moment. Find your breath, find your center. Find your intention again. And then curl your knees in towards your arms and start to roll onto your back. Make your way down onto the back. Let your palms face up. Drag one shoulder at a time underneath your back, preparing for your bridge pose. So press down through the feet. Feet are nice and equal, hip width distance apart. Root through the feet, lift up hips and pelvis, coming up into one bridge pose, breathing the chest toward the chin. Interlace your hands underneath your back if that's available. Good. And really press the heels away from your shoulder blades. As you hug your knees in a little bit, breathe your chest toward the chin. And we're going to inhale to lift the heels high, come up to tiptoes. Sweep the arms overhead as you inhale, keeping the arms overhead. As you exhale, start to roll down one little vertebra, or is it vertebrae, at a time. Slowly, each little joint of the spine, lowering down until the heels rest, tailbone releases. Take your hands down through heart center and bring your hands onto your belly. Bring your feet mat width distance apart. Knock your knees in to touch. Rest your hands on your belly. Breathe into the space that feels the most tight for you today. Feel the warmth of the hands on the rising and falling of the belly, and the thigh bones resting right in the hip sockets. Now, take a few windshield wipers with the knees from side to side, massaging out your back, taking care of your lower back and hips, wringing out. And then when your knees come back to center, draw your knees in, come into full happy baby, reaching for the outside edges of the feet or your ankles or shins. And there we even out the back. Imagine your back and your hips very broad, very spacious and open and light. As light as your heart. As light as the space between the eyebrows. Go ahead and release your feet down. Feel your feet come onto the floor. Give the feet a good press. And then extend your legs out and find a comfortable Shavasana for today. And you can feel free to cover up with clothing, socks, blankets. I'm going to put my sweater on. So you come to unwind on your back and really let go. Let the floor support you. Thinking of all the light and space through all the joints. Let Shavasana be a sanctuary of peace, a sanctuary of reconnecting to your inner calm. Coming back to your breath, every inhale breath, an opportunity to invite gratitude, to invite anything at all you want to welcome in to your energy field. And every exhale, is there anything at all you can let go of, even for a moment, that no longer serves you, that no longer brings you joy? Starting to wiggle fingers and toes, and with your intention in mind, reach the arms overhead, take a big reset stretch, big full inhale. Exhale, tenderly hug the knees in toward your body, inviting compassion for all that is right now, complete and whole. And then find your way onto either side that feels natural. We're going to rest with the head and the crook of the arm for a couple of moments, releasing the side rib into the floor. And when you're ready, very gradually pressing up to sit so we don't move too fast, so we don't jar the nerves. And then we'll come up. I'm going to sit in hero pose today, so we're going to sit on the heels. Or you can sit anywhere that it's comfortable for you today as we come back up. Find the length up through the spine. And let's inhale, sweep the arms out and up toward the sky. Exhale, gather the hands down through the central channel, bringing the thumbs to the center of the chest. And finding gratitude for yourself for showing up today. I thank you for showing up, and I wish you joy, peace, health, strength, courage, and trust on the journey. Namaste. Great job stepping on your mat today. Thank you again for being a part of this community. If you enjoy my videos, please like, share, subscribe, and you can even hit the super thanks button and support my channel. I would really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you again in the next class. I'm posting nearly every day right now, so it's fun. See you next time. Take care.